Hello, I am the cartoonist M. Rashid. For these types of cartoons, like I did today, that uh, talk about the interracial preference, uh, a lot of people assume that I'm being anti interracial relationship, but that's not the actual point of these cartoons. The point is like based on the history of race relations in America. Like, I'm curious why people keep saying the preference concept. There's a related cartoon I did some time ago, um, that's also linked in the description. Like, the point of these cartoons where I'm snapping at sharply those that visual and how it comes and how people talk about it in American culture between the two races. The point isn't the critique, the interracial relationship itself. And I don't, that's not my place. I'm going to leave that to people like Cynthia G. For me, I want to know why you are saying it's your natural preference based on everything you know about our country and how these things are. Why are you so quick to dismiss the idea that this isn't natural, that it's in fact propaganda that's making you see this? For me, it seems obvious just from a casual look through history. Even like there's this one quote uh, from this old interview with Eartha Kitt, the actress Eartha Kitt from the civil rights era. And they're asking her, like, if you're, you get a lot of backlash when you married that white dude. And she's like, yeah, I married him in 1960 when it was a trip, you know. And they asked her, like, well, how come, you didn't get with a black dude and stuff? And she pointed out that she dated and sexed um, two of the big, like, black stars of the time, even though they weren't African American, they were Caribbean, but they were Harry Belafonte and the late Sidney Poitier. So she's like, Belafonte like told her, like, from their bed, told her, we can mess around, but I can't marry you because you're not white, and I'm looking for access into the machine. I want to be integrated with them and enjoy what they enjoy, and I can't be hanging out with you. How am I gonna get access in there? I need his woman on my arm to do it. You know, that's how you get access. Pretend to be him, and or whatever. So she's saying this in the article, and it's like, okay, well, she said, I wanted them. I wanted like everybody else. They loved those dudes. They were like the it dudes of some of the it dudes of their period. They were tall and handsome, and movie stars and big music stars, and like I wanted them. They wouldn't have me, you know. And so that type of those comments. So when people say preference, in the moment, I'm assuming they mean preference of the flesh. This is my type. That's what I'm assuming in this moment. But now that I've told that Eartha Kitt story and what Belafonte and Poitier said to her, when people say preference across social media, what do you actually mean when you say that? Do you mean the exact same thing that they mean? Are you talking about the full integrated, unquote, experience as your preference. That you prefer not to have the Black family experience. You want the marketed integration experience as your preference for life and your life quality. That's what you want. Is that what you're actually saying? I assumed you meant, I prefer this racial phenotype on the woman of my dreams versus this racial phenotype on the woman of my dreams. I've been assuming that this whole time, but now that I've said that Harry Belafonte story out loud, probably the first time other than just reading it, is this what you mean when you say preference? Do you mean that you've bought fully into the marketing campaign, like the full brochure of what they present, of what they turned integration, what they turned our civil rights into? So that's one of the things that was always a big red flag at me about growing up, just thinking about those things. Like, you made being in an interracial relationship one of the goals of civil rights. That was powerful to me, even as a young man, thinking about it. Like, you made one of the goals. These is people being bit by dogs and sprayed by hoses and shot and put in jail and lynched and stuff for these rights. And you made one of the bullets in this list we're fighting for to be with a white woman. And people were like, yeah, how could this be? How is this not an attack against the Black family? How could this not be an attack against my family? That's a goal I'm willing to die for. How did you pull this off without any pushback? There had to be pushback. That's crazy. This is not an anti-interracial relationship rant of mine. This is how are you not critically thinking about this and talking about this? Because in this moment, I'm catching glimpses of a strategy, a tactic. And what that reminds me of, I'm like, how is it that you're not having that discussion? It's like, how are we actually taking this seriously? Is this really a bullet that we're willing to die for? That this is one of the goals of civil rights? It shouldn't be a goal. It should be like a residual after effect thing. And not even that, because look at this. The other day we talked about what you need to do to be politically empowered, to be economically included in full competition so you can interconnect with other groups. What you need to do is be strong in your own political identity. You understand what I'm saying? Everyone you know who is strong in their political identity, it comes with, we only like ourselves. We marry here. What is this outsider doing in here? Everybody you know has the strongest political identity groups you know have that on them. It's hard to break a piece of that group off and marry one of them. And you know it to be true. That in order to be at the top of your game as a political identity, You have to be solid in who y'all are. And it's your reputation for being able to like get up in there is a thing. You know what I'm saying? So if making it a goal, one of the main bullets of my civil rights is to be with somebody else's woman, that's not civil rights. This is an attack upon me pretending to be civil rights. Because the only way I can get what I need is to be enfranchised. Enfranchised along my unique lineage and heritage and together as my own people. Just like the most successful political identity groups. If I'm not this, if I'm scattered, I'm broken and disenfranchised and disunified, and I'm vulnerable to predators. So if you're telling me that I need to fight to the death so I can prefer an alien group's woman over my own woman, then you are my enemy. Without doubt, you are my enemy. And when Eartha Kitt said what she said, and you didn't take up arms to defend her, you were wrong. And you are weak and have already been broken. How could that not be? In order for my people to be where they need to be, and they're, as the protected class they're supposed to be in, strong, and they're already admired and influential in the unique culture they created. But you prevented them from being where they're supposed to be. You can catch glimpses of who my people are in other ways, like out the side of your eye when you like catch the sun glints just in between the cracks of like the bamboozle and the subjugation and exploitation and the nonsense you've painted around trying to hold me down. Occasionally you catch a glimpse of my people are the stuff, and you know they are. You're like deliberately holding us down so that you could continue to build your wealth at our expense. But in order to be where I'm supposed to be, it's no accident that between the two genders inside of my ethnic group, the black woman is less likely to date outside of our group. That's why I keep saying you made it the goal of civil rights to go after his woman, and I didn't make the gender thing neutral in that regard, because statistically the black woman is less likely. She's the mother. She is the rock of any group. Female is the rock of any group. You know, she's the one that's birthing the kids and making sure their first knowledge is who they are. It's very important. That's why God is like, he lists her first. Honor thy mother and thy father. When God does that type of stuff, rank order, how often he says certain things and stuff, that means things. That's powerful in scripture. It's not an accident that he said the mother, then the father. It's not an accident. God does that on purpose, and you, the discerning eye, when you're studying scripture, needs to know that. The mother first for a reason. In any group, she's the rock, building that foundation. So, in my group, she's the one that's, out of all that we've been going through, she's the one holding on the strongest to the black family. And when my dumb ass steps outside of that, she's still holding on and looking at me like, I'm trying to get access, baby. You don't understand. And like, when I'm being a dumbass, she's the one that's still trying to hold it together. That's an example of being unequally yoked. You're longing after something you have no business longing after because you don't have your own stuff together. So what are you over there for? And even in the examples of the most successful political identity groups who just don't believe in it as ethnic policy, sure, you could break one of them off and like marry one of them and stuff. And they're probably inside of those relationships are giving you crap because they're the top of the food chain when it comes to that stuff. They're like, we're the most successful ethnic groups or political identity groups. So if I've stepped down outside of my station to marry one of you lesser groups, it's going to come with certain stuff. You got to be a strong individual to deal with what they're going to kick off. Even if they're like 100% humble and, how they project, like, it's all right. I love you for you. And, so what? You're beneath me a little. But, who's thinking about that? It's they're going to kick off certain stuff. And if you're not strong in who you are, you're not going to be able to, it's going to, you can hear the end of this relationship like, in the background. I got glimpses of that in a certain famous author's relationship. And when she talks about it now, it sounds a certain way. I'm not going to deal with that by name. But this is not an anti-interracial relationship because it's not impossible that it could be organically real. It's not impossible. Is it possible in the United States of America, inside of the cauldron of nonsense that we call race relations? I don't think so, but it's possible. It's possible. Anything humans can do, it's possible. Okay, I'm not going to say it's impossible. In certain circumstances, it could happen. Is it likely, in my opinion? I don't have my reparations. My people are still economically excluded and treated like the second-class citizens. It's the way it looks is you're abusing me and pushing me towards the edge of this economic precipice. So we zero out. And then you're going to try to put me back in the shadow for my own good. That's what it looks like. There's no other way around that. And the only way it doesn't look that way is if you're a fool or if you're deliberately hiding your hand and pretending something else. That's the only way it doesn't look like that to you. You're dumb or you're sneaky. There's no middle ground. So, my question is, how can you not look at this critically based on everything? The obvious surface level answer is like my dad smoked cigarettes since he was 9 years old. He was all about that life. He loved it, and he could do all the like smoke ring tricks, and he could probably do tricks with the smoking that I never saw. But he genuinely enjoyed smoking. Knew that he should quit, never quit. When he died, he was still at a 2 packs a day thing. So, the only way you can, with a straight face, it's just preference, is if you like smoking. and don't want to give it up. Read the label, the warning label on it, and so, like, that's the only way. You're telling me with a straight face, well, Harry just had a preference. What's wrong with that? People can have a preference. You're being willfully stupid. There's no, that's it. That's it. You just like it, decided you cultivated an appetite for this, and you're not open to a deep conversation in it. You just don't want. I'd rather be right here. And that's it. Which is fine. But that's the type of figure that needs to be set aside over there. You do you over there. I'm not interested in you popping up in these threads when you're cowardly and don't just say what's true. What's true is you've developed an appetite and you would rather indulge in this appetite and not be guilt tripped about it. And that's it. This is not your preference. This is not your preference. Because there's no way with the history of this country that this can be a natural, inherent preference. It's impossible. It's not impossible. It's possible. It's so unlikely that it comes close to that impossible line. You can't even put a Uno card between it. That's how close to that line it gets. Possible. Let's dig into that a little bit. I hate when these videos get super long, like an hour long, but it's the nature of this discussion is, listen to me. When you say it's just preference, it means you're trying to convince me that you don't believe in the power of mass media marketing. You're trying to convince me that it's not possible to brainwash people with multi-million-dollar media programming. And I know you know better. You know better. So you can't say these things. When you're saying it's just preface, you're being stupid and you're treating me like I'm stupid. And it's insulting and it's making you look a certain way. It means that you signed up to die for that bullet that had no business being in the civil rights political agenda list. It's an attack upon my family. In order for me to receive what I needed to receive from my system, I needed to be strong and united together as a group. Whoever made that a bullet that I'm willing to die for and I'm getting bit by German Shepherds over and sprayed and lynched for, whoever put that in that list was attacking me. So, mass media marketing, these companies, these multi-billion-dollar companies pay millions for seconds of airtime. Why do they do this? Do they do it because they just have a lot of money and this is like how they just have this ego trip? So I'm just gonna buy this 30-second spot and just show my McDonald's hamburgers on TV because I get off on it and that's it? Is that why they do it? You know better. Out of every million people that sees your ad, it's a guaranteed number of that million who will buy it because they saw this ad. There's science here. There's a human psychology here. It's deceptively simple, but it works. It's very valuable to get your message in front of a huge crowd of people, because there's a guaranteed percentage of that group that belongs to you, who are your true fans. Before you put that message in front of them, they don't know that they're your true fans because they don't know you yet. Once they see, they'll be all in, and your fortune will be made. So the more money you have, or the word of mouth, the more skilled you are at marketing, the more successful you'll be. So these big companies, they know that if I put this much money on this time period here, has a guaranteed number of eyes in the American populace will be looking at their screens at this exact time. And if I pay this amount of money to put my product in front of their eyes, I can guarantee this much money. It's powerful. It's powerful on the individual level, product and stuff like that. But it's also powerful generationally. You could train an entire generation in a certain mindset, and they will pass it on to their kids. Now I drink this particular pop, soda pop. I call it pop because I'm from Detroit. I drink this particular pop because my family drinks it, and I associate this particular flavor with my beloved mother, or my beloved father, or my grandmother, whatever. That's why I'm drinking it. So that's an entire generation of people who are buying this product. You saw how they were marketing to the baby boomers when they were in the TV, the golden age of TV. They were like, they were working out that science with them baby boomers. Pepsi and Coca-Cola. They're the best colas in the world because they told you they were. Are they objectively the best colas in the world? No. What about McDonald's? Is that objectively the best burger in the world? No. But it is because they told you. When you think burger, you think of these huge branded products because they paid for it and they indoctrinated you and they guarantee a certain amount of money because of it. So, when I made it for generations an actual goal of my civil rights as a Black American, that I'm free if I have a white woman on my arm. This was marketed to me as part of my liberation, freedom, empowering package for generations. So how could it be my preference that I prefer this alien political identity group's woman over my own woman? How could it be my preference when it's been marketed to me by the full force of the machine in order to keep me from competing directly with that one? And this is my preference, organic, inherent preference, that I prefer somebody else's woman to my own. You expect me to not think you're a dumbass when you go around saying that dumb shit. So you pop up in these threads saying that shit. You have no argument. You usually backpedaling, like dodging, so you don't want to say stuff. I don't want to be in an argument. I just want to be here to say it's her preference, it's his preference. Okay, and that's what I want to say. You're not smart enough to have the discussion. You're not courageous enough to deep dive into it. You're just in my fucking thread. And whether it's conscious or unconscious, real or not real, you're a damn agent for white supremacy when you do it. Because you're bringing no value. You're just saying shit from your cowardice. It's not your preference. It's not Harry's preference. He told her, I don't want a black woman. I'll bed you all day. But for my actual wife, for access, I want his woman because I don't want to compete with him. I want to be among them. Can we stop being stupid? I don't care if you're interracial relationships. I'm not, despite the force of my passion about it. I don't care about that part. You be who you want to be with. But from the anti-racism discussion and the facts of history, stop saying it's your preference. It's not a preference. It's not a preference from the organic way you try to make it with these like trolling nonsense posts. You're not bringing an actual discussion. You're just saying shit like that. What it reminds me of, the fact that people aren't deep diving into it and they just getting close to it and then, well, we don't want to say that. That sounds racist if you say that. If we have this discussion, it'll be racist. That's how you're acting. And what it reminds me of is weaponizing terms like anti-Semite, and it has like a politicized force field around it of untouchable. You can't say this. You can't bang 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 bang. You can't get close to that. This is protected. I can't have that discussion because all these slurs and it means this and it means that. In order to be successful as an ethnic group, as a political identity, it means I have to be unified and protective of my ethnic group. I have to protect the smallest unit of this ethnic group, of this political identity, is the family. I have to be protective of my family from outsider influence and outsider attack. Stop saying it's your preference in an organic way, because it's not. You've been brainwashed and indoctrinated to long after this one's woman in order to be successful in a society that is a racial phenotype economic caste system. So in order to have the highest quality of life that your group can have inside of a white-topian bubble design that's anti-Black American, you have to distance yourself from who you are and pretend to be that guy inside of the limits he allows you. And he's gifted you with his woman, as long as you go by the rules. That's what this is. It's not your preference from an organic, I just like this better than that naturally. That's dumb. Stop telling me that. It's not true. You've relaxed into white supremacy to become his support class. And the highest level of the bottom, The highest level that the wealthless bottom caste can achieve is as accepting the amount of money he allows you and accepting a second-rate white man lifestyle inside of his whitopian bubble. That's as high as you can go if you're not fighting for you. I have another question. It's illegal inside of a university for a teacher to date the students. It's illegal inside of the prison system for the adult guards to have sexual relations with the adult inmates. Why is this so? So, inside of a power dynamic, it's illegal for the powerful to prey after the weak inside of this political power dynamic. So, you denied me my reparations. You continue, even as we speak, as I record this, you continue to plunder my people of their wealth, preventing them from having inheritance of their own. You add my siphoned away, stolen money, stolen national household wealth to your slavery money, compounded over time and from continued discrimination against me. You just continuously taken from me, and continuously I'm economically excluded from this country I built, and I am artificially impoverished so that you can live your best life. The power dynamic hasn't changed in slavery. You adjust the levels so that, the control, like me flipping out and going through the riots from the 60s, you're trying to control that so that we can, but the power dynamic is the same. You are the white racist aristocracy looking down on me. How is it that we can have an interracial relationship and it not be illegal? You know what I'm asking you. How is this a thing? Because to have your way, this would never change, and I would be returned to shadow. To have your way, you have no intention of me being free. Like, you fight it as much today as you did during slavery. You have no intention. So with that being the power dynamic between us, how can we have an interracial relationship without it being illegal? Answer me this. I'm genuinely curious as the responses, because I know you're full of shit. I'm just gonna make fun of it. So let's hear it. Let's hear it. All right, I'm done. Peace.